Okay, let's dive into this. Think about a moment, maybe with someone you really care about, a partner, parent, child, friend, where you had something important you wanted to say.
Hmm.
Maybe it was like deep admiration or a really tough question you needed to ask,
Yeah.
or just how you felt about something that really mattered.
Right.
And then, well, you stopped. You hesitated.
Yeah.
Maybe the words felt too big, or you were afraid of getting emotional, maybe upsetting them, or just, afraid of what might happen next. We've all been there, right?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling, it's like something's right there on the tip of your tongue. Your gut is screaming, say it, but
Yeah.
you keep it locked up. It's
Hmm.
super common. And the source material we looked at, it points out that it's so often rooted in, well, fear.
Yeah.
Fear of being vulnerable, fear of conflict.
Exactly. And today's deep dive, it's all about challenging that hesitation, that specific feeling. We've been digging into these excerpts from a book chapter that really cuts right to the core of transforming relationships.
Hmm.
And it gives us two incredibly simple, yet really powerful words of advice.
And those words, they're really the heart of this section, aren't they? It's just say it.
Yeah.
Or, to give it its full weight, leave nothing important unsaid.
That's the mission today, to really get into why this idea, which honestly sounds almost too simple, why it's actually so transformative.
Right.
We're going to pull out the real-life stories shared in the text and look at the actual impact, sometimes pretty surprising impact of choosing, that moment of courage over just staying silent.
And what's interesting right off the bat is the author doesn't gloss over the difficulty. It's acknowledged that intimacy, real connection, it takes courage.
Totally.
Risking getting emotional or, like you said, risking upsetting someone by saying what you truly feel.
Hmm.
That's scary because you care about them, about the relationship itself.
It absolutely is. Your brain's wired for safety, isn't it?
Right.
So it just throws up all these reasons to, well, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
But the promise, kind of woven through this source material, is compelling. It says, despite that fear, the result of actually saying it can be, well, the word used is magical.
Yeah, magical. And that promise, it really comes alive in the stories they share. Maybe we should jump into some of those moments that really illustrate this.
Let's do it. The first one that stood out is about a man named Don and his daughter, Amber.
Okay.
And Don, he had his own version of this rule. For him, it was just making sure nothing important would be left unsaid.
So Don, he's watching his daughter Amber and her husband, and he sees how they live their lives, and it deeply moves him.
Yeah. How so?
Well, they were just incredibly generous, taking in family members who were down on their luck, volunteering a lot in their community, going on service trips, just constantly giving back.
Wow. Okay. So he sees all this and he feels this like powerful admiration for them, right? For the example they were setting.
Exactly. But he told the author he kept putting off saying anything. He was actually so afraid right before he finally did it.
Afraid of what specifically?
Afraid of getting emotional, that it would feel awkward or heavy or just messy.
Ah, okay. I get it.
But he pushed through it. He kind of forced himself, told them how much he admired, how they lived their values, what a powerful example they were, and just how incredibly proud he was of Amber.
And the outcome. What happened?
He said his relationship with his daughter was never the same again, just closer, deeper, more connected than he ever imagined possible before that one moment of courage.
Wow.
And that experience, it just locked it in for him. That rule became his guide. Leave nothing important unsaid.
It's amazing, isn't it? Such a seemingly simple thing, just expressing admiration, but speaking that truth, even with the fear tangled up in it, it just unlocks something deeper.
Completely. And we see another really powerful example in the author's own story, this time with her father. She gets that text, the one, call me as soon as you can.
Oh yeah, instant dread.
Instantly. The mind just goes into overdrive. As she describes it, that uncertainty just triggered her worry habit, sent her spiraling down what she calls the what-if loop.
Right, like, did grandma die? Did I do something wrong? Is he okay financially?
Exactly. All those negative possibilities flood in. The source even notes it can happen in, less than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Your brain just fills that void.
So fast. Okay, so what was the actual news?
It was serious, but totally unexpected. Her dad needed open brain surgery. They'd found an aneurysm by accident after he collapsed playing golf.
Whoa, okay. That's huge.
Yeah. And facing that, intense, scary news, the author felt this immediate instinct, ask him if he was scared.
Yeah, okay.
But just as fast, that hesitation kicked in. Those thoughts like, don't ask that, it'll just upset him, or keep it light, don't add stress, all that stuff.
The internal emergency brake again.
Exactly. But this was one of those push moments the source talks about, living by the rule, leave nothing important unsaid. So she used that technique.
The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing.
Yeah, the 5-second rule, that simple countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, to interrupt the overthinking and just act. So she counted down and just asked him straight out, Dad, are you scared?
Wow. Okay. And his response?
It was really beautiful, actually, and not what you'd maybe expect. He said he wasn't scared, maybe a bit nervous, but he trusted his surgeon. But then he said he felt lucky.
Lucky facing brain surgery.
Lucky because they found it. Lucky because he had a chance to fix it before it killed him. And lucky because, looking back, he had no regrets about his life.
Oh.
He talked about becoming a doctor, his amazing life with his wife, how his kids turned out. He felt the quality of his life had been incredible, especially, compared to seeing loved ones suffer when their quality of life diminished.
Oh, found.
It really was. He even shared some dreams he still had, like seeing Africa or wanting to jump out of a plane when he turned 90, like George H.W. Bush.
Felt that.
And the author reflects that this conversation, right there in the face of something so serious, it was one of the most beautiful moments they ever shared.
And it wouldn't have happened if she hadn't pushed past the hesitation.
Exactly. If she hadn't used the rule and just asked, it really drives home that point from the source. Waiting for the right time for these connections, it's a fool's errand. There's only right now.
The moment is the opportunity.
Yeah. And it's not always about these, huge dramatic moments either. Sometimes saying it is about bridging a gap, like Courtney's story in the source.
Okay. What was her situation?
Years had gone by since she'd really connected with her dad. The relationship had kind of fizzled, and she really wanted to make amends.
That's tough after a long time. Lots of room for overthinking.
Totally. But instead of letting her mind pass out or overthink it, which is what she said she usually did, she decided to just act on the instinct. Use the 5-second rule.
So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And she literally said it out loud. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit call, and just did it. Boom.
Sometimes it really is that simple, isn't it? Just the act of starting.
The power was just in making the call, triggered by the rule. And then there's Mike's story. He felt he was kind of hiding in his marriage, not being fully himself.
Okay. Hiding how?
Just not being totally open, maybe avoiding difficult topics.
Yeah.
So he used the rule to push himself to be more honest with himself and then naturally with his wife, too.
And what happened for him?
He started actually talking about things he normally would have just ignored or preferred to avoid. And the outcome was this feeling of, honesty. He felt more honest with himself, and he said he really liked that feeling. His reflection was really powerful. He said something like, I may not be perfect, but I am worthy. I'm surprised by just how damn good that feels to be worthy.
Wow. That connects back, doesn't it? The source links that feeling of worthiness directly to acting on your instincts.
Exactly. To feel worthy, you first have to make your own inner voice, that nudge, telling you what's important, worthy of your attention and effort, saying, it becomes an act of self-validation, too.
So it's not just about the other person, it's about your relationship with yourself.
Definitely. And Anthony's story kind of echoes that. He used to have this pattern, especially with his wife, where he'd just expect her to know what he needed.
Ah, the mind-reading expectation.
Yeah. He joked he thought all wives could read minds. But of course, when his unspoken needs weren't met, he'd end up feeling resentful.
Right. A classic setup for disappointment.
Totally. But then he started using the rule to lean into what I normally shy away from, which for him meant actually saying what he needed, vocalizing it.
Did it work?
He described seeing enormous change in his marriage. He felt closer to his wife, and guess what? His needs started getting met more often.
Funny how that works when you actually communicate them.
Right. And Anthony's big realization, the key takeaway for him was, I had no idea that my silence was the problem.
That hits home. And the source really hammers this point, connecting it to a broader principle.
Yeah, that silence is always the problem in relationships. Always.
Why always?
Because when you decide not to say what you feel or need or think is important, it creates this cognitive dissonance, that clash in your head.
The gap you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Between what you believe or feel deep down and what you actually do, which is stay silent. And that internal conflict, it just builds up like a crack spreading underground. It can seriously damage, even break relationships over time.
Even when what needs saying is really, really hard.
Especially then, maybe. Look at Estelle's story. It started, surprisingly, during a seemingly stupid argument with her husband. Just an ordinary moment, she said.
Okay.
But right in the middle of it, something shifted. Her mind just became suddenly crystal clear. She knew with certainty what was truly important for her.
And what was that clarity?
She knew she needed to ask for a divorce.
Whoa. Okay. Big clarity.
Huge. And in that moment, she used the rule. She acted immediately on that clarity instead of letting her brain pull the emergency brake and talk her out of it, which it surely would have tried to do.
So she just said it.
Yeah.
Right then.
She asked for the divorce. And she described that decision, made right then, as catapulting her life in the direction she knew deep down she wanted to go but had been holding herself back from.
That takes incredible courage. Was it easy after that?
Oh, definitely not easy. She acknowledges it was hard, but she says she never for 1 second doubted it was the right choice for her.
It wasn't just about ending something then.
No, it was about authenticity, acting on what was authentically me, as she put it, in that pure moment of action. That's how she felt she found herself again. Despite dark times, lonely moments, she never regretted it. She feels most alive now. Found her soulmate, yes, but more importantly, she found her true self by choosing to act on her truth instead of playing it safe.
Her story really highlights that saying isn't always about making things feel good or keeping things smooth. Sometimes it's about speaking a fundamental truth, even if it shakes everything up.
Precisely. It's necessary for growth sometimes. And then there's Natasha's story, which shows the power of vulnerability during really tough times.
What was happening with Natasha?
She was just overwhelmed with life. Her mother had died suddenly. Her usual optimism was gone. She was seeing negatives everywhere.
Oh, that's incredibly hard.
Yeah. And she was really worried about how all this was affecting her relationship with her boyfriend.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Grief can put a huge strain on things.
So, using the 5-4-3-2-1 rule, she made that courageous choice to speak from the heart. She shared the raw, difficult truth of how she was really feeling.
Which was?
That under the weight of her grief, the relationship, as it was right then, felt unsustainable.
Wow. That's a risky thing to say. You'd almost expect that to be the end.
You might think so, but the outcome, as the source shares it, was the complete opposite. That honesty, that vulnerability, it actually brought them closer.
Really?
Yeah, they faced the challenges together because she put the truth out there, and now they're engaged.
That's incredible. The hard truth actually created a deeper connection.
It did. And looking across all these stories, right, expressing admiration, asking that scary question, making amends, being honest in marriage, stating needs, ending a relationship, sharing grief, they're so diverse.
Totally different situations.
But they all point to something the source really emphasizes. We often just fail to appreciate the profound power that's right there in the smallest moments of our relationships. Life gets busy, days fly by.
And I missed the chance.
Yeah.
It's a huge reminder to just slow down sometimes, be present, and really listen to your heart when it speaks up. Because maybe that little nudge is your intuition saying, hey, it's time. Say it.
There's one more story in the source that it really encapsulates this idea of not letting those moments slip away. The story of Josh Woodruff.
Okay. Tell me about Josh.
He's described as just the epitome of someone who lived life fully, embodied that spirit of acting without hesitation. Just went for it.
Sounds like someone we could all learn from.
Definitely. But there's a heartbreaking part. A friend of his, Mary, shared something after Josh was tragically killed by a hit-and-run driver. Oh, no.
Mary had seen Josh in the grocery store just a week before he died. And she felt that instinct, to say hello, connect for a second. But she hesitated. She didn't say anything to him, just let the moment pass.
Oh, the regret she must feel.
Exactly. Her post, shared in the source, is just this incredibly powerful, gut-wrenching lesson. Sometimes there is no next time. When your heart speaks, say it. Just say it.
Wow, that really lands hard. Don't let the opportunity pass.
And Josh's mom, Karen, shared another story showing how deep this ran in him, even as a teenager. She was crying one day her own mother was dying of cancer. Josh saw her. And instead of looking away or getting awkward like a lot of teens might, he asked what was wrong. He sat with her, eye locked her, and just listened. Really listen, present with her as a human being.
That's remarkable for a teenager.
Karen said from that day on, their relationship shifted. It went beyond just mother-son to like friend-friend,
Mm-hmm.
because he showed up for her emotionally in that hard moment. He didn't hesitate.
He really was the epitome of doing, like you said, taking intentions and acting on them.
Yeah, living without hesitation. And his mom shared one last thing, a text Josh sent her and her husband on New Year's Eve, just hours before he died.
Oh, wow.
Just a simple message, but
Ooh.
Karen said, he thought it, he sent it, we will treasure it for the rest of our lives.
Leave nothing important unsaid. That's it, right there. Their heart speaks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and say it.
Exactly. And when you look back at all these stories we've talked through, admiration for a child, a vulnerable question for a parent, making amends, honesty in marriage, stating needs, ending a marriage, sharing grief, even just saying hello, the situations are all over the map.
They really are. Different scales, different contexts.
But that core principle just weaves through every single one. Like the author says, the shortest distance between two people is the truth. Staying silent, even if you think you have good reasons, it creates distance. It creates gaps filled with assumptions, misunderstandings, that cognitive dissonance we talked about. Right. But speaking your truth, even if it's messy or imperfect,
It creates the possibility for real connection. It lets others actually see you, and it lets you be truly seen.
so this source material, it makes a really compelling case, doesn't it? That having the courage to say it, to leave nothing important unsaid, often using that simple 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 trigger.
Yeah, it can profoundly impact your relationships, make them deeper, more real, more authentic.
But it's not just about the relationships, is it? It fundamentally impacts you, your own feeling of worth, your integrity, living in line with who you actually are.
Totally. It connects you back to your authentic self because you're making that inner voice, that intuition, worthy of action.
It actually makes me think of that Walt Disney quote mentioned in the source material.
Which one was that?
All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them.
Ah, yeah. How does that connect for you?
Well, here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on as we wrap this up.
Right.
What if having the courage to apply this say it principle in your relationships,
Yeah.
expressing the admiration, asking the hard questions, being honest, reaching out, what if that's not just about improving those connections?
Okay.
What if that very courage, that willingness to act on your truth in those moments is actually a key part of pursuing your own dreams, living a life maybe a bit more like Josh Woodruff, without all the hesitation that holds so many of us back?
So the courage in relationships fuels courage elsewhere.
Maybe. What important things are just waiting out there for you to simply
Yeah.
say?